Hey guys, welcome back to Smash It, a show we made up because we wanted to burn some more of Defy Media's money on commemorative plates.
That's right, Joe. It was between another writer and this plate, so we went for this one. This plate represents the X-Men franchise, and not just the group movies, Joe. All of the solo movies, the spin-offs, the whole shebang. Will they be good enough to take their spot on our commemorative hutch?
Or will we break them with a hammer? Find out!
I hope it's not made of adamantium.
I love the X-Men from the 90s cartoon, from the comics, and from the arcade games. That was my introduction to the X-Men.
X-Men was, in a lot of ways, responsible for the big renaissance that we're seeing in superhero movies.
Overall, it's a nice, neutral franchise. It's a coin flip. You get good ones, you get bad ones. You never quite know what you're gonna get.
I saw the very first X-Men with my dad, who I'm pretty sure audibly sighed when I started to go, "Ah!" in the opening credits when you hear the voiceover of Patrick Stewart.
Mutation. It is the key to our evolution.
Oh my God, finally! And my dad was just like, why aren't you your brother? He can fix a car.
The first X-Men, I walked out being very excited that I got to see the X-Men on screen, but also feeling a little like, huh.
The doomsday clock, we're gonna turn everybody into mutants, is just stupid. Sabretooth looks ridiculous.
The only thing I think that would have made me 100% happy with the first X-Men movie is if at the end of it, they turn to me specifically and say, hey, Danielle Radford, do you want to be an X-Men now you have mutant powers? That's the only way I would have been happy.
I remember the first time I saw X-Men, I thought, wow, that's a lot of leather. They're all like in Mugatu's, fall-winter line.
They were just bowing down to the Matrix.
I didn't mind the black leather thing, particularly because that was the time that we were in.
What do real superheroes wear? Motorcycle, like jacket leather. That makes sense.
Actually go outside in these things. What would you prefer? Yellow spandex?
To me, the characters were so right that I was not disappointed with their leather biker suits. Wolverine, Hugh Jackman. This movie gave us Hugh Jackman.
I didn't know who Hugh Jackman was before this, so to me it was just they picked up Wolverine and they threw him on camera.
I was really moved by the relationship between Rogue and Wolverine.
When they come out, does it hurt?
Every time.
If it hurts every time, stop doing it.
It hurts every time. Like, really, bro? Really?
The early 2000s were an angsty time, man.
I'd be pretty angsty too if people wanted to chase me down and hunt me down and eliminate my species.
That moment where Rogue gets her stripe because she's touching a thing or something, that was the moment when I was like, oh, I don't know about this.
Rebecca Romaine from Mystique all the way. I love that line that she said in the helicopter where she says,
You know, people like you are the reason I was afraid to go to school as a child.
just that one little line did more for me to know what Mystique's character was than 3 movies worth of Jennifer Lawrence Mystique.
This was a year after Phantom Menace, and everyone agreed pretty much that Darth Maul and Ray Park were the best part of that movie. So to see him again in another role, it was cool. He was doing his Ray Park thing, he's swinging off and setting up Holly Berry for terrible lines.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
Why would it, what, how?
So what was the point of that?
It sounds like a toad being struck by lightning is a cliche that we're familiar with, but nobody's ever said that combination of words in history. And the same thing doesn't happen to everything that's struck by lightning. That's why you put like a lightning rod in a building, because it can safely absorb the lightning.
I applaud them for getting the ball rolling, but damn, that one's a rough rewatch.
X-Men 2 was everything that I kind of wish the first X-Men would be.
X-Men 2 starts off right away for me as one of the best action scenes.
The Nightcrawler White House scene is amazing.
Nightcrawler is in the White House and he's just teleporting left and right to get to the president, and you're like, damn, this is a way to start a movie.
It was perfect opening.
His ability is really scary, but he's also incredibly lonely and tragic.
They do really allow these characters to be fully formed. That's why I love X-Men 2 so much.
Wolverine freaking out on all of the Green Beret guys, Special Forces guys in the X-Mansion is great.
Logan finally doing that berserker barrage inside the kitchen.
It's one of the happiest moments I've ever been in a theater.
Love seeing Wolverine reach his full potential. Just beast modes, it's awesome.
X2 had obviously the most overt social commentaries.
Iceman coming out to his parents as a mutant.
There's something I need to tell you.
I think that they did a great job.
I respect their attempt to bring the social justice aspect that's always been in the X-Men.
It's a little on the nose sometimes with, you know, Bobby's mom.
Have you tried not being a mutant?
Why you're on X Grinder all the time? Why don't you talk to some girls?
It was very heavy-handed.
Yeah, X-Men's real preachy.
Bobby dating Rogue, that's a tough situation.
I can't think of any boy that's gonna be content with just like holding someone's gloved hand at the movie theater like it's the 1910s.
It must be really hard to be a horny teenager at Xavier School.
If I make out with you, all of a sudden, are you gonna blow up? Am I gonna blow up? Are we gonna go into a different realm? What's happening here?
Can you just like put a sheet over each other and just like touch each other over the sheets? People do that, right?
Last Stand is not a great movie.
X3 is terrible.
Last Stand was hot garbage.
I don't think X-Men The Last Stand is that bad. Does it have the best story? No. Does it have the best dialogue? No. It's got stuff in there. Shut your mouth, it's fine.
Jean came back and killed Scott because he had to go be in Superman. Magneto comes, big army, dumb fight, wings cut off, bridge go by. That's the plot.
A major pharmaceutical company has developed a mutant antibody. They're calling it a cure.
I actually think that it's a cool concept. Like, there is a cure to a part of who you are as a human being. Do you take it? Do you not?
They killed off Cyclops at the very beginning.
It was shocking they killed off James Marsden so quickly in that movie. One kiss, the kiss of death.
James Marsden, you were one of our generation's best actors, and the X-Men franchise did you wrong, my friend. They did you wrong.
What did they call you? Juggernaut.
The Juggernaut was just awful.
There's a popular meme of, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
Don't you know what I am? I'm the Juggernaut.
And they incorporated it into this movie.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut.
I'm gonna bring a meme to life in this movie. Isn't that gonna be great? Like, no. No.
You realize the level of impact this will have on the mutant community?
Fraser shouldn't be Beast. Who's Toad? Niles?
It's as if this beast has been awakened within me. Can you get that for me, Mike?
I don't want crossover between the X-Men verse and the Fraser verse.
I thought that's why you appointed me, sir.
X-Men 3 also introduced horrifically, cartoonishly de-aged Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
I was like, Final Fantasy got a sequel?
Just the like intense holding in a fart face that Jean Grey and Professor X are doing for that entire movie alone. It's just not good.
So they take this character in Jean Grey, who should be one of the most fascinating characters, do not give her her due, and then kill her off.
Phoenix is such an iconic character and we have all been waiting. That's what we got? Someone already wrote this. They did it twice. They did it in the comics and in the cartoon. Just do the thing they wrote. Wait, why are you doing this?
For some reason, Magneto is in the woods a lot.
Why was Magneto in the woods?
I don't know why Magneto's always hanging out in the woods. Wouldn't he want to be in the city where all the metal is?
Sensing metal around you at all times can be a heavy burden, so perhaps he wants to go where there's not so much metal.
Maybe it's just good lurking areas.
He doesn't just hang out in the woods. At the very end, he lifts a bridge.
Moving the bridge is pretty cool. It's stupid, but it looks cool. But it's stupid.
X-Men Origins Wolverine bit the dust, man.
Hands down, the worst.
There's so much that went wrong with X-Men Origins Wolverine.
I'm gonna give you 3. 1, it's trash.
The effects are awful.
People know that something looks like crap, but you don't want to say anything to anybody because it's like, I don't want to lose my job. So you see something like Wolverine's metal claws and you're like, looking good, bro, looking good.
You cheap ass mofos can't even get a proper CGI explosion behind this man? You can practically see the outline of the green screen. Put an explosion behind me right now. It looks worse than that.
The big Wolverine transformation scene in that movie, which everything was built around, was like 10 seconds long.
It was just him popping out of the tank and kind of running off into the woods.
Okay, bye everybody.
And then 2, there's way too many characters that they're just like shoehorning in.
I mean, the Blob.
And Wraith, who was played by Will.I.Am in this movie.
Kayla, she's a mythical girlfriend that is okay with being impaled by his night terrors.
It's just a scratch.
Oh my God, is Maverick gonna show up? Like, are all the real deep dive characters in the Weapon X lore gonna show up?
And then like 3rd, and what they did with Gambit.
Gambit was really bad because that was back when everyone was trying to make that Friday Night Lights kid be a thing. He was never gonna be a thing.
Poor Taylor Kitsch.
I don't know what to tell you, Taylor. You're my Gambit. I don't think he was that bad as Gambit either. He worked.
Okay, you know what, 4th, and what they did with Deadpool.
Can you even really call whatever Ryan Reynolds is in that movie Deadpool?
Wait, is that you?
To take the merc with the mouth and then take away his mouth? What are you doing?
What are you doing? Clearly you don't even understand the character.
And what was with the swords coming out of his arms? Why could he teleport? And then also he had Cyclopses. I was just, this is too much.
It is very bad, and it should feel bad, and I feel bad for it. X-Men First Class is set in the early 60s, and it kind of covers the origin of the X-Men.
I always love going into a different decade, especially the 60s. Cool vibes, man.
It took me back to those 60s era X-Men comics in the look and the feel, and it was a great superhero period piece.
It talks about how Charles and Magneto meet. They have this idea of gathering mutants and helping them understand their powers.
They nailed the Xavier-Magneto relationship as well as they did in the first 2 X-Men movies.
This is by far the best crafted movie, and it's by far the best as far as action direction and choreography. The scene where Professor X loses his ability to walk is heartrending.
I love Michael Fassbender as Magneto going back and killing some Nazis.
It's one of the ones that definitely fleshed out the characters for us.
You understand Magneto. You get where he's coming from. He's not just about chaos. He actually has a purpose.
It's just following orders.
I've been at the mercy of men just following orders. Never again.
First Class was the thing that gave us the ability to essentially reboot and ignore the mistakes in storytelling with the other ones so that we could move on with cool X-Men movies.
It sort of undid the first 3 X-Men movies because the relationship between Professor X and Mystique is completely not there.
But apparently they were like besties when they were little.
There were so many things against First Class that I think it speaks to how good the movie actually is, that it still sort of chugs through some really, really stupid choices.
It has that scene where they're all, I hate this scene so much, where they're all sitting around coming up with their X-Men names.
I want to be called Mystique.
Banshee.
My stage name is Angel.
And now it's like, well, now I'm thinking about how dorky this is.
You should be Professor X, and you should be Magneto.
Were there some cheesy moments? Sure. Did it mess the timeline up even more? Of course.
I really enjoyed the sequence where they were recruiting people, and then they tried to hit up Wolverine for it, and he was like, no freaking way.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lensher. Sounds Xavier. Go f yourself.
Classic Wolvie. Piss off, mates.
That was a really fun surprise in that movie. Again, it screws up the timeline really badly, but you know what? For a really good middle finger joke, I'll let you wreck your continuity.
The Wolverine is the most forgettable one of the X-Men movies.
It's kind of hard to remember the Wolverine.
No one can really quite seem to remember what exactly happened in the Wolverine.
Wolverine goes to Japan. I know that's not the name of it, but whatever it was called.
I'm not going to Japan.
Wolverine goes to Japan, falls in love with a girl.
And he has some dreams about Jean Grey.
There is something that happens with a lady and her tongue. There's a dude who's trying to live forever.
I think he builds like a machine.
And there's an explosion.
I remember a train. I remember an elderly Japanese man in a large robot, a sword.
There were a lot of katanas.
I don't remember this movie at all.
I know for a fact that I went to the theater and I saw the Wolverine.
I remember saying that was better than Wolverine Origins.
I guess it couldn't have been too terrible because I honestly remember next to nothing about it, but it also couldn't have been that good because I remember next to nothing about it.
The best X-Men film, in my opinion, would have to be X-Men Days of Future Past.
This was a pretty great movie.
I love Days of Future Past.
Time-traveling Wolverine fighting Dinklage and the Sentinels, like, I'm in.
I loved the crossover with the future X-Men and X-Men from the past.
Charles.
I thought it was a pretty good balance between old cast members and new cast members.
I like the 70s setting of it.
Would you believe me if I told you I was sent here from the future?
The whole reason this movie exists is to undo the 57 movies that came before it, and that's about it.
Quicksilver is just one of the best action sequences in any of those movies.
The dopest scene in all of Days of Future Past is when Evan Peters puts on those headphones and he's going around and he's snagging the bullets and he's doing all of that stuff, and it's like the just coolest.
That scene, his look in action was sick.
It's such a memorable movie moment that they've run it into the ground since then, and now every X-Men movie needs one of those.
You know, the best part about that scene was how his music didn't slow down. That's how it would sound if he was really doing that.
You have this guy who's presented as a god, basically, and then they have to move heaven and earth to get him out of the story.
Take it slow.
Because he could resolve the movie like that if he wanted to.
There's a lot in the movie that they want you to accept without questioning, and I'm really on board.
They tried to do all of this timeline cleanup and continuity sweeping. They didn't make it clear if the weird ending with the original X-Cast was just sort of a symbolic send-off, or if that was still continuity, or how they now connect to X-Men First Class.
Okay, so again, the timeline doesn't make sense, but if you are applying your primer logic to the X-Men franchise, you're doing it wrong.
They did so many messy things before. There was so much to erase. I was happy that they did.
Oh God, I finally get to say nice things about X-Men movies.
Deadpool was a breath of fresh air.
I love that movie because it stands apart so much from the rest of the movies that I forget it's part of the X-Men franchise.
We came into that zero expectations.
Wish I could claim, like, I knew Deadpool would be a smashing hit.
This was the perfect marriage of character and actor with Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds loves Deadpool. He fought for it to work. They nailed the tone of the character.
I'm so sorry. Oh, little spider monkey.
Americans in general, we love violence and comedy. I will speak for all Americans for this.
A rollicking good time. And you can put that on the DVD box.
They nailed the breaking of the fourth wall.
Spoiler alert.
I love that Deadpool head-on acknowledged Green Lantern.
Please don't make the super suit green. He can take liberties with anything he wants. He can comment on real world events.
It's a big house. It's funny that I only ever see two of you. It's almost like the studio couldn't afford another X-Men.
It like just called out so many tropes like superhero landing and stuff like that.
Woo! Superhero landing. Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
I love the dig at the X-Men chronology.
Let us go talk to the professor.
McAvoy or Stewart? These timelines are so confusing.
That moment where him and Vanessa meet back up, and underneath it's Hugh Jackman's face. It's taped on, which is such a Deadpool thing, and it's gross, and he rips it off.
It's a face I'd be happy to sit on.
Aw, man. Doesn't everyone want a love like that, where you can look like just a big uncooked meatball and still find love with one of the most attractive women on screen?
I'm so tired of the world being at stakes. He wants to get to his hot girlfriend, and this guy does not like being called Francis.
It turned out for an amazing experience. It's so weird what happens when people who really care about a project get to make a project.
Apocalypse sucked. Oh, Apocalypse was dumb.
What the hell happened, man?
They kept trying to find a way to shoehorn in younger and younger actors.
And then you pair them with a villain that looks like Ivan Ooze.
Oscar Isaac, one of the greater actors of our generation, is in a California Raisin outfit.
I'm old. I want a better body. Here's a better body. Oh no, I failed. Apocalypse.
He just kind of became a generic bad guy, and then everyone in the team just sort of blasts him with some things simultaneously until he blows up.
It was in the 80s for no reason.
Bryan Singer, in his infinite arrogance, puts a joke in. The kids come out of a screening of Return of the Jedi, and they're like,
Well, at least we can all agree the third one's always the worst.
trying to take a jab at X-Men The Last Stand. Homeboy, X-Men Apocalypse is the third one in your trilogy, and this one sucks way harder than X-Men The Last Stand.
Also, Return of the Jedi is great.
They really forced this angle of Mystique inspiring a bunch of mutants.
They look up to you. Mystique's not supposed to be a main character in any of this crap.
I think even Jennifer Lawrence didn't buy that.
Jennifer Lawrence looks like she would rather be a POW than be acting in that movie.
Jennifer, blink if you're unsafe.
She looked at that contract and she was like, how many more of these am I doing?
Then you shoehorn in the Phoenix.
Stop with the Dark Phoenix.
Do it right or don't do it in this whole huge movie.
No, you haven't earned Dark Phoenix. Put it down.
You just blew it, Fox. I hope the mouse buys you. I hope the mouse buys you so hard.
Logan is the one that stands out to me from the rest of the pack.
They really hit it out of the park with Logan.
There's so much weight and humanity to this movie, and yet it's still so true to who those characters are.
It's just a story about this guy who's taking care of this older friend, and he's got in charge of this girl.
I don't think anybody going into Logan was like, this might be one of the top 3 comic book movies of all time. Huge testament to Hugh Jackman and what he's able to do with that performance. Huge testament to that script.
Daphne Keane was like a revelation that year. Delivers this incredible performance.
Patrick Stewart, he broke your heart as an aging Professor X that can't control his powers anymore.
Poor Professor X. Come on. Can we leave the dude alone?
I loved all that stasis. He would shoot out a giant mind beam and put everybody into some kind of, everybody's doing the robot all of a sudden. I mean, honestly, Logan was disarming with how truly, madly, deeply violent it was right off the bat. It was smart of them to bank on the fact that we would enjoy an R-rated Wolverine movie.
Logan's not perfect. He has to literally fight a younger, stronger version of himself.
What the hell are you?
It's pretty on the nose.
I don't care that the villain is just a CG younger Hugh Jackman. I think it works.
Hugh Jackman taking out Hugh Jackman? Come on.
Wolverine is kind of always portrayed as being this like samurai. And this is how you end an old samurai story.
The idea that Wolverine would end his life sacrificing himself to make sure that the next generation survives, I thought was a great way for his character to go out.
The first trailer made me cry. This movie made me cry. X-23 is incredible. She made me cry. Patrick Stewart's amazing. He made me cry. Hugh Jackman's incredible in this movie. He made me cry. The guy from The Office is great in it. He made me cry.
At the end, when they've laid him to rest and she's reciting the lines from the movie that they watched together. Oh, it was so much crying.
She takes the cross and she turns it to an X, and we kind of fade out on that image. It's a great visual, and it's a great kind of ending to this character.
I can't think of a better way for an artist to go out.
Our takeaways today? Hard R. Don't do Apocalypse.
If we treat everything before Deadpool as phase 1, they did an okay job.
There's just too many of the X-Men. When you come into a franchise and there's 45 characters, you can never feel at home.
You kind of take it as a given that they're gonna keep making more X-Men movies at this point.
Fox, I need you to get it together. There's no reason why the spoof X-Men movies are the best X-Men movies.
Despite my best efforts, it's a tie.
What do we do?
Well, I mean, it's sort of boring if we don't break the plate, right?
Right.
Can
we do both?
Yeah, let's just do
Let's
both.
do both.
It's
All right.
Wolverine. He'll heal.
It'll regenerate, right? Nope. Nope. No. I guess I just gotta do the damn thing.
Just
right?
go for it, buddy. Do we have any tape?
That goes like
That
that.
goes there.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
there we go.
definitely right.
Tape that. Where are his eyes?
I think they're gone.
That goes there. Here, just give me a piece of tape. Oh wait, here we go. There's some eyes. Good as new, Joe. And who wouldn't want this beautiful plate proudly on their commemorative shelf. It's a thing of beauty.
Da-na-na-na-na-na.
Joe, tell me when you did Star Wars that you called this Jabba the Hutt.
Mother.